we had a very entertaining weekend of college football, and that only sets up another very entertaining week of college football ahead. But let's start with what happened this past week, and I'm going to start with Oklahoma. It's very ironic that their Sooner wagon crashed last week, the week before anyway, because that is now oddly symbolic of their season, and that, like the wagon, they have crashed. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. Kansas State with a first-year head coach? Really? Really? Are you kidding me? I mean, you think Oklahoma's defense had turned a corner, so you thought after the Texas game, but they're still the same old Oklahoma defense getting carved up by anybody and everybody. I mean, goodness gracious. And that wasn't even the craziest thing, to be honest with you, that happened this past weekend. The craziest thing that happened was actually in a game that I'm sure people weren't really paying close attention to outside of the ACC territory, but Duke and Carolina were playing. It was a 3-point game late in the game in a pivotal ACC Coastal game. David Cutcliffe, down by 3 at the goal line late in the game on the road, decides to do a running back jump pass. A running back jump pass. You've got to be kidding me. That's the best you could come up with in that situation? Really? Pete Carroll and Kirby Smart think that was a dumb play call. Oh my Lord. I'm not sure what he was doing. I'm not sure what he was doing after the game either, when he was like pushing Carolina players and whatnot, but that's a different issue. Speaking of idiocy, how about what happened in the Texas Tech Kansas game? So Texas Tech blocked a field goal late in the game. Kansas was kicking for the win and Texas Tech blocked it. They tried to return it and they lateraled it and it hit the ground and Kansas recovered and ended up kicking a game-winning field goal and making it. If that costs Texas Tech a spot in a bowl game, that will be so funny. I mean, you had one job, Texas Tech, and you failed. You've got to be kidding me. Texas Tech, that's unfortunate. I'm going to say this, though. Kansas is starting to look good. I'm not going to say they are good, but Kansas is starting to look a little better. They look like they have a little mojo that they haven't had since Todd Reesing was the quarterback in 2007, that year they won the Orange Bowl. I'm going to go out on a limb. Kansas State is going to be coming off of an emotional win in which Oklahoma's defense could be called garbage, but as I'm fond of saying, that'd be an insult to garbage, and garbage doesn't deserve that. Kansas State will be coming off an emotional win there. Kansas is improving. They almost beat Texas. They beat Texas Tech for their first Big 12 win in the Les Miles era. I think they're going to make it 2 Big 12 wins in the Les Miles era. I think Kansas upsets Kansas State this weekend. Also this weekend, I think USC knocks off Oregon in a Pac-12 showdown and eliminates any discussion whatsoever of Oregon sneaking into the playoff. Now, Kansas does have it tough. If they beat Kansas State, they've got Baylor, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State after that, and they would need to win 2 out of 3 to make a bowl game, so that's not likely. Although, boy, if Kansas had started the year with the offensive coordinator they have now, you never know, they could find themselves in position to make a bowl. I think that when you look at some of these coaches that have been hired after a couple years off, Les Miles and Mac Brown, there was some doubt. I was among the doubters that just didn't know whether they still had it. They still have it. Les Miles is in a tougher situation because recruiting at Kansas is harder, but Les Miles still has it. And on that topic, if that win over Texas Tech wasn't the most Les Miles win ever, I don't know what is. Maybe that game against Florida in 2010 where they did that fake field goal late in the game. Maybe. Maybe. Or the one against Auburn a few years before that where they were down by 1 in field goal range and they threw it to the end zone and it worked. I don't know. But that was a Les Miles win on Saturday. Other things in college football, with North Carolina's win and Virginia's offense looking clueless yet again. A big ACC Coastal showdown in Chapel Hill this weekend. Quite frankly, the winner of the Virginia-North Carolina game could end up winning the division. The winner will definitely at least end up controlling their own destiny in the Coastal Division. But the 7-way ACC Coastal tie, which we all deserve, is still alive. Wouldn't there be nothing better than all 7 ACC Coastal teams going 6-6? There'd be nothing better. You could not have anything better than that. You just couldn't. And yeah, you really couldn't. I mean, Oklahoma losing last week marks the 3rd straight week that a favorite of 20 or more points has lost, and that's got to be really rare. You do not see that very often. This college football season has been very chaotic already. It's shaping up to be very interesting. Look, I've been on Clemson's case all year for not being a top 4 team, but with Oklahoma's loss, they're definitely in there now. Because you could say what you want, but they're not losing. So, I mean, you kind of have to now with Oklahoma losing. We'll see what happens down the road. Clemson's toughest remaining game is by far Wake Forest. That'll be interesting to see. The Group of 5 New Year's 6 race is as wild and competitive as it ever has been before, with SMU, Cincinnati, Memphis, Boise State, and Appalachian State all having great shots, and even UCF, if a lot of chaos happens, could get it. So a lot to keep an eye on the Group of 5 side of things, including this weekend, a huge American Conference showdown. SMU having their best season in the post-death penalty era, undefeated, 8-0, taking on 7-1 Memphis. Game day's going to be a wild scene in Memphis. Both defenses have been vulnerable to giving up the big play so far this year. I'm worried about both, because both quarterbacks, Shane Buechele for SMU and Brady White for Memphis, are pretty good. So I think what we can expect in the SMU-Memphis game is a shootout, and I think it very well could come down to who has the ball last. I'm going to give the edge in this game to SMU. I like the Mustangs. I really like their offense. It's going to be a close back-and-forth nail-biter of a game. I think SMU wins by a field goal in Memphis to stay undefeated.